does anyone remember this? You know, that old Sonic OVA. I remember watching it when I was like 7, but I genuinely don't remember much about it. So I decided to rewatch it, and because I have a YouTube channel, I'm also making it your problem. So let's get this video started. This OVA, hang on. Okay, so OVA means original video animation, just wanted to Google that. This OVA is good, but it's also so weird. Like, the OVA begins with Sonic at the beach. It's the scene most of y'all should know because it has... Old memes aside, I really like this scene from a writing standpoint because it quickly shows off our two main characters. Tails is rambunctious and immature, and we know he's tech savvy because he's the one that made the bodyboard. We know that Sonic is a bit rude and carefree, but when someone needs help, he literally zips into action. His speed being a physical contrast to his laziness. And the animation looks really good too. You ever wanted an entire movie like that opening to Sonic CD? Cause you've got it right here. It's zany, fast, and rambunctious. Seeing Sonic run across a vertical wall isn't exactly unique, but I'll be damned if I didn't love it. Sadly, I don't love these voices. Tails sounds like a 9-year-old with a stuffed nose, and Sonic, while not bad, certainly isn't voiced by Jaleel White. I miss Jaleel White. What's he doing now? Apparently voicing Steve Urkel. And now let's get to what makes this OVA so weird, namely this owl. His name is literally Old Man Owl, which is weird, but not the point I'm making. The point is that this owl doesn't exist. He's not in any shows, games, or movies, just this OVA. Because this OVA occupies its own space in its own universe. There's canon, non-canon, and then this OVA, which is presumably a kazoo. This movie lives in its own space with its own worlds and its own characters. Like, this isn't Mobius, this is Planet Freedom. And the owl wants Sonic so they can stop Robotnik and rescue the president and his daughter Sarah? What? And as weird as it is, I don't actually hate it, because the world they set up is pretty cool actually. But that's something I'll add on to later because I do have to actually explain this film's plot. In short, Eggman needs Sonic's help because Robotropolis, his kingdom, has been taken over by Metal Robotnik. The idea of Sonic reluctantly helping Eggman isn't anything new to the Sonic universe. The last time it happened was in Sonic Frontiers, but that was only for the last island. It's good to have this uneasy alliance as the starting point of a story. And these new, or well, original characters we get are weird, but they're also not bad. The president is the foolish, doting father, very incompetent, but he cares a lot. The other is his daughter Sarah, who's the Princess Peach to Robotnik's Bowser. I like how she's catty and bratty and mean. It gives a nice sense of comedy to Eggman as she is someone he just can't control.
Sonic better enjoy his victory now, because once he gets to Robotropolis, he'll have to fight something far more evil than Metal Robotnik.
What do you mean worse than Metal Robotnik? Are you talking about yourself? You better keep your hands off my Sonic or I'll never forgive you.
It's also a pretty interesting way to give your damsel in distress agency. With the goal of saving Robotropolis, Sonic and Tails head out to the Land of Darkness. Like I promised before, it's time for me to talk about the setting, and it's one entirely unique to this OVA. This isn't Planet Mobius, it's Planet Freedom, and Planet Freedom is broken down into two parts. The upper part is where Sonic and friends live, in the Land of the Sky. It's the Sonic world we know. But by heading through holes in the cloud barrier... What is this, Skyward Sword? Anyway, by heading through these holes, you can reach the Land of Darkness. I liked this setting before, but I fell in love with it when we reached these ancient relics. I know the trope of using an apocalyptic Earth for your fantasy story isn't new, but, and this is a massive but, I don't care, it's cool, do it more. In these ancient relics, Sonic and Tails finally come across Metal Robotnik. I'd be remiss not to mention how good this movie looks. The animation may be a little outdated, but it does have the painted backgrounds that I love from those old 80s and 90s OVAs. The setting for this fight isn't anything too spectacular. We've seen Sonic fight in cities before, but I like the way the entire environment is presented. The background is so dark that it contrasts from Sonic and Tails' bright blue and yellow in a really interesting way, keeping the action easy to follow. In fact, the battle against Metal Robotnik is probably my favorite fight in the movie despite what comes later. There's a nice first-person shot of the duo running through a tunnel, and they even incorporate the fact that the ruins are sinking into the battle itself. They use glue as a hazard and water to make the fight more interesting, including just making it rain just to add to the dramatic effect. For an OVA made in 1996, it looked good as hell. Right when the heroes are about to die, Knuckles shows up and saves the day.
And he can fly?
Yeah, he can fly in this OVA, and also he's apparently a mole, not an echidna. In the OVA, Knuckles is pretty much OOC. He's nothing like the Knuckles we know. He's not tough as nails, he's not hard as hell, in fact he seems like a pretty normal guy. The three of them managed to kill Metal Robotnik through a reference to Goku murdering Super Android 17. No, wait, that came out like a year after this. I guess the Sonic OVA just did it first. The three of them hurry up to Robotropolis to shut off the generator. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that, did I? Yeah, this entire journey is on a time limit because Robotropolis is going to explode. It goes nowhere because Sonic and team managed to stop the generator and the day is saved. Okay, but not really, because Sonic gets Kizzly Izzly and out pops one of the most iconic villains in the franchise, Metal Sonic. Or, well, Hyper Metal Sonic as they call him in the OVA.
Go get him, Hyper Metal Sonic!
I have no idea why he was named that. Once again, the fight looks pretty good, especially considering the time it was made, and I love the way Metal looks during the stills. He's got this entire gunmetal gray sheen that he honestly should have in the games. And his presentation is fantastic. For lack of a better example, he's a lot like Death from Puss in Boots 2. Unlike Metal Robotnik, he isn't a part of any jokes, he doesn't make any wisecracks, he's here to kill and he seemingly succeeds. We see him seemingly kill the Old Man Owl before moving on, but the reveal that he's fine is our first indication that there's something deeper to this mechanical menace. Robotnik's and ergo Metal Sonic's ultimate goal is to destroy the Land of the Sky, and again, I like the world building. Basically, all these floating continents are held together by a massive glacier in the north. And Metal Sonic intends to punch through the surface, bringing up magma to melt the ice and destroy the lands of the sky. This may be a weird thing to say, but I like the way it's all explained. Knuckles describes the glacier as the world's spine and the magma as blood vessels. Using a simple metaphor to explain your world is good writing. Keeping that metaphor going to explain multiple parts of your world in an easy to understand way is great writing. I never thought I'd be saying Hollywood should imitate a Sonic OVA from the 90s, but here we are. Sonic arrives in the Arctic to stop his metal counterpart. Eggman and Sarah arrive to watch the two battle it out. Tails and Knuckles arrive to give Sonic a hand, and the president is just sort of there. He's now the damsel in distress. Sorry Sarah, you've been demoted. We also get the funny meme line.
You might know everything I'm going to do, but that's not going to help you since I know everything you're going to do. Strange, isn't it?
I've got to mention how much I love the music in this OVA. Rather than being orchestral like most movies or rock like modern Sonic music, it all sounds like something you'd hear from a Sega Genesis. I've never owned a Genesis. I don't even like 2D Sonic games, but I'll be damned if this doesn't get me into a funky, fresh mood. Sonic is getting his blue badger balls kicked in by Metal until Tails does something? I've watched this entire OVA like 4 or 5 times and I still don't know what the fuck Tails does. Either way, Metal begins to break down and Sonic turns the tables, pushing Metal into the surging magma. We get a reference to episode 3, no wait, this came out before that too. So that's 3 references Sonic made before they even existed. Guess he really is the fastest thing alive. Unlike Obi-Wan, Sonic offers Metal his hand, but he smacks it away. And as cool as his final only line is, I just can't vibe with the voice. It's too goofy. The idea that Metal Sonic is such a perfect copy of the fleshy real thing that he shares some of his personality is a really cool idea I'm surprised isn't in the games. Metal may have been destroyed, but Eggman still has the data, but he loses that out of his own hubris. With that, Lookalike starts to play and the film comes to a close. I have feelings about this OVA. It's just so different from, well, Sonic. Like, half the cast is so OOC they might as well be original characters, and the other third of the cast are original characters. Despite that, what they retain from the games is pretty good, and they do a great adaptation of it. Sonic and Tails' personalities are spot on, and the action when the two of them get going is pretty much perfect. And what's original to the movie isn't bad either, but it's just so different it's hard to call this Sonic at all. This is less Sonic the Hedgehog and more Speedy the Mongoose. All in all, the only way I can rate this OVA is like this. As a Sonic movie, it's like 5 out of 10. We only have 2 of the characters actually acting in character. This is going to be another weird comparison, but I do think this OVA is similar to The Shining. In the sense that if you're going to change something, you better make damn sure it's for the better. The characters, setting, and music are all great. I'd give it a 7 or an 8 out of 10, unironically. You're going to have the best time if you approach this movie as like a new interpretation of Sonic or something not related to Sonic at all. Granted, I probably only like this movie so much because I'm a turbo slut for anything Sonic related, and if you're watching this, then you probably are too. That just about does it for the review, but we still have our Patreon shoutouts. For our 3 stars, we have special thanks to 87 Werehog, Deku, Zora Chow, Choron, Garyon Lefay, Dragon King Yara, and Kayun. For 4 stars, we have Miki Moon and Unknown RC, the perfected automatons. And for our Super D-Tuper special 5-star shoutouts, we have first Vanilla Flower, the Scattering Faith. Then Poor Mage, the Flaming Hot Ogre. Next, Sky King 64, the Underworld's Nester and Spreader of Evil. Finally, Mahagasaur, the Rainbow Spanning and the Holy Knight. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and check out my Ko-fi and Patreon. As always, this is your host Fuuri signing out.